Muchas gracias. Soy Eduardo Conejo de Samsung de Brasil. E me alegro mucho estar acá con usted y platicar un poco más de 5G. Como usted puede percibir, mi español no es muy bueno, entonces, con su permiso, me voy a cambiar para lo inglés. Sorry about that, but I can guarantee you it would be much better if I can speak in English. It's amazing the huge improvements and the huge changes the world is facing in the last years. I've been joining for Samsung for about 8 years, but I've been working in the technology industry for more than 30 years. And for me, it's an honor to have a chance to take a part of this revolution. Mankind has nowadays an incredible technology, knowledge, and capabilities. Things that we used to see as science fiction in a few years ago are now a part of our daily lives. Just for example, we can carry in our hands around 24 hours a day so capable devices, much even more capable than the Apollo 11, the first space spacecraft device that landed the man in the moon about 50 years ago. And now, with the 5G, the new frontier for the telecommunications, truly new, amazing opportunities and services will become reality. Before starting my discussion with you, I want to just share a very briefly video with you guys.
Now, 5G is on. Play, ultra fast. Feel, the real-time control. Connect everything. 5G will change our lives, industries, and societies. 5G allows you to experience gigabit speed without fiber. Enjoy thrilling moments. Nation with reality. Be a part of the breathtaking scene without going there. Take lessons beyond time and space limits. Bring medical treatment to the cutting-edge level. 5G will be the power to pave the way for new industries. Build up millions of connections in factories. Enable real-time control. Automate manufacturing with AI. Accelerate transport speed with less resources. Grow more crops with less soil. 5G will make our society a safer place for everyone. Immediately connect every service in an emergency. Rescue people without human involvement within golden hours. Maintain cities' sustainability by efficient management of public resources. Deliver tons of information. The 5G world responds to every need. With this fascinating 5G, life will be better, safer, and more efficient. The future is now with Samsung 5G.
Amazing, isn't it? This video shows us very briefly the whole potential of the new 5G technology. Of course, even more amazing things we should see in the short future. But now let's just take a brief look about the evolution of the telecommunications technology from the last, let's say, 40 or 50 years. At the very bottom of the screen, we can see the 2G. Of course, I'm not considering the 1G technology because it was truly or fully analogic one, so we don't need to expand too much information on this because it was fully based on the voice communication. Okay, but if we start considering the 2G, where definitely the digital content was introduced, at least initially and partially with a small amount of digital information, The 2G it was mainly designed for the voice communication. But if we just, for example, compares the telecommunications as a delivering system, transferring content or transferring some sort of data or information from one point to another one, we can say that the 2G was like a delivery service doing by bicycles, meaning that we could transfer some sort of uh, data packages of voice and some digital contents with a limited amount of size of this information and as well with the speed because bicycles are not really very fast. Well, around 10 or a little bit more years later, the 3G technology was introduced. And at that time, definitely, the real internet experience was enabled for the users, meaning that you could start having a full connection, even traveling on high speed. It was uh, possible because of the cell handover technology that was really introduced on the 3G. Cell handover is something like this: you are in a car in a highway, and your car is running in a very fast speed, and the your mobile phone swaps the connection with the different base station radio antennas along the highway in order that the same connection is maintained even when you are changing from one antenna to another one. And at the 3G era, we can say that the amount of data start improved, meaning that it would be possible to transfer much more boxes of zeros and one, meaning much more amount of information from one side to the other. But also the speed was increased because now, uh, considering our comparison, it was like doing by motorcycles. Okay, and again, about 10 years or a little close to this time, the 4G was introduced. The huge improvement on the 4G was mainly in the volume and the speed of data, speed of information that could be transferred. Uh, Based on the introduction of the broadband technology, meaning that we can really have much more interactive and much more useful interaction between the users and the internet services. And our, keeping our comparison, it was like we start doing the transferring of the data boxes through cars, meaning that we increased the amount, the volume, but as well the speed. But now we are talking about 5G, and 5G is like we just skip transferring or transporting data boxes through the landline, but we start doing this by air, by aircrafts, but not the regular aircrafts. We are talking about supersonic aircrafts. In the 5G, the amount of data and the speed of the communication is truly amazing. And it's possible because, very briefly, the 5G has improved several control channels and different ways of transferring this kind of data and information. And it created different levels of channels that can allow different services to be introduced. Just for example, in the 5G, we can count with the EMBB, meaning from the standing from the enhanced mobile broadband, which is a level beyond on the broadband service that we are used to see in 4G. In the another different channel, we can have a MMTC, meaning from the massive machine type communications, and this kind of support is really perfect for supporting the IoT communications and IoT services. This is a different way of transferring a very short amount of messaging or data messaging, but with a high speed and through and tremendous amount of different connected devices simultaneously, meaning that IoT sensors and IoT actuators across the world can be truly connected and very accessible through this channel, allowing different types of IoT services and solutions to be implemented. Of course, there is also a higher level of controlling and data quality, meaning that the rate of error is very limited, meaning that we can consider a high quality data transferring and data communications. And finally, the very important channel that 5G allows is the URLLC. It comes from the ultra reliable, low latency communication, and this is perfect for the operation of remote services and, for example, machines. When we talk about autonomous vehicles, despite they are alone traveling through the highway, they are autonomous, but they are truly connected, and they are based on 5G communication. And all the controls and all the data is flowing through this kind of URLLC channel over the 5G communication, meaning that you can send a command from the central, from the network, from the cloud to the autonomous vehicle, and it has almost no latency to reach the destination vehicle, meaning that when you have this kind of possibility, you can control remotely. Latency is when you have some delay on the information to be transferred from one point to the other. It's pretty common when we see on TV, mainly on live reports talking, and someone asks something, and it takes a while, a couple of seconds or minutes or seconds to the other side get the question and start answering. This is the latency, and the 5G over the URLLC almost implement a no latency connection. Just for a briefly comparison, we can see here, for example, if we're gonna just download a high definition video of 15 gigabytes in 4G, it takes about 240 seconds, while in 5G, it can take up to 6 seconds. It's almost no comparison, right? Also, as I was mentioning about the autonomous vehicles, with a 4G technology that we have now, if we send a command for a car that's traveling for 100 kilometers per hour in a highway, it will take around 1 meter and 10 centimeters to stop because of the latency. The network or the clouds sends the command stop car, but it takes a while until reaching the car and it responds. And it can be dangerous. When we make this over a 5G connection, it will take less than 3 centimeters, meaning that it's really much more reliable and much more safe having autonomous or machine connected over the 5G connections. And definitely, the amount of simultaneously connected devices is really incredible when we are comparing 5G and 4G. While in the 4G regular implementation, we can say about 100 devices connected to a base station. We can see this number growing up to 1 million for the 5G service, which is also really incredible. Just a summary, we can see here again the capacity of amount of data is really incredible, more than 20 times more comparing 4G and 5G. Again, the latency, which is very important for remote operation is also almost zero or no latency. And as well, the amount of the simultaneously connected device is really incredible as well, allowing different types of services, mainly IoT solutions implemented. And just talking about the services, in this picture, we can briefly see the evolution of the technology in the bottom, but as well the increase of the amount, the quality, and the sophistication of services that are based on the telecommunications technologies. And now we are talking about not having just a voice message or even a very short message over the 2G communication, but we are talking about having the realistic augmented reality solutions, very realistic controlling machine remotely, integrating thousands and thousands of different sensors and actuators over, for example, a smart city or in a industry, for example, where you can have a base plant running different types of machines, all connected and all of them integrated and sharing information simultaneously. Of course, the availability of the 5G and as much as it is becoming more available and across the different countries, more and more different and definitely much more sophisticated services will be available very sooner. This is a huge opportunity for new endeavors and mainly for new startups solutions for sure. Uh, just looking very briefly, specifically on the healthcare and the well-being area, how we can see or foresee if 5G is improving, or how 5G will create a different level of support for different solutions and applications. Very briefly, we can say that there would be at least three different pillars where the 5G will be supporting. The, 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 the first one is in regards to the prevention services. With the reality now of different types and different sort of wearables devices, and mainly we can consider here the smartwatches, for example, it would be possible, or actually it's already possible, to monitor 24 hours a day vital signs from anyone, anywhere in the world, like heart rate, blood pressure, temperature of the body, counting the steps, and a different sort of other information that can be uh, almost instantaneously transmitted to a server where monitoring services and controlling for specific information would be present for in the daily life of the people. As well, the telemedicine area, which is somehow new, and it was very improved with the needs after the pandemic scenario we've been living. It would be much more realistic with a very high resolution video and audio quality, meaning that the experience of having a medical consultation would be almost seamless and very, very comparable to a realistic one that we are used when you go to a specific appointment with a doctor in his office. The other pillar, as I said, is the treatment area. Of course, there are lots and lots of different ways that the 5G technology will be improving the treatment support. But just for example, the emergency transportation of a patient over ambulance, it's already, we see this in some countries, it's already in place. The continuous and the online transferring of data, vital signs from the patient that is in the ambulance with the hospitals, and as well the doctors on board in the ambulance can be connected with the staff in the hospital in preparation for the best and better procedures to take place when the patient gets in the emergency center. As well, we can see a very huge improvement in the high quality data, high fidelity data exchanging between different centers for diagnostic purposes. This is one of the areas that is creating a different types of services and improving very much the quality and also making the costs for the diagnostic much more affordable. And the one of the major improvements that we should see very sooner is about the robotic surgery operated remotely, meaning that, for example, very specialist doctors living abroad can control a semi-automatic robot making a surgery fully precise and without even never being close to the patient. This opens up a huge new opportunity for this area of treatment for sure. And another is about the rehabilitation, right? We can imagine how better would be for the patient if instead of staying in the hospital for 1 or 2 weeks after a surgery, for example, it can go home very sooner and be monitored by the hospital staff just using a wearable and a 5G based on a 5G communication. And why not thinking about the really huge opportunities for the future where we can imagine the possibility of an example of an exoskeleton where someone with limited movements can be assisted, similar what we see with the autonomous vehicles, but we can also imagine the possibility of having autonomous exoskeletons connected to a 5G service where people will be getting much more accessibility and much more improved life quality based on this kind of support. Another way of thinking about the improvements and the opportunities that 5G is bringing for the healthcare and the well-being is, for example, for the patients. Of course, they would be much more safer because they can be monitored, as we see previously, and as well, they will be much more treated or handled by their doctors in a personalized way because in every single contact from the doctor to that patient, all of his data, historic information would be accessible for the doctor in combination with a very realistic and seamless, as I said, communication between the doctor and that patient over to a telemedicine session, for example. For the hospitals, the improvements or the efficiency will be very much improvement, definitely. And as well, the money saved would be incredible. Uh, because just for a basic example, we can imagine that hospitals would be attending patients anywhere in the world with their doctors seated in their uh, offices in a specific country and having the opportunity to attend over telemedicine or even making telesurgery as we see before. And finally, for the society, definitely, it would create a much more inclusive world, meaning that even very poor countries that has no much access to doctor specialists in specific areas would be counting with telemedicine sessions and having the best in the world doctors attending their patients with a very affordable or almost no cost because everything would be connected and very integrated. Well, this is just a brief overview about the area. I hope I can contribute with you, and I'm excited to have an opportunity to maybe discuss better in more details with you sooner somehow. I thank you very much, and see you soon. Thank you.